Greetings and salutations. This is Miko bringing to you an audio version, the spoken word, of my weekly column on Macedonian matters. The English version is published on medium.com, and the Macedonian version is published on Svest.mk. This week's column, which is published on Sunday, February 24, 2019, is titled Guidelines, Still, and a Note on the Peace Dividend. The government of Macedonia has issued media guidelines and a Q&A on the so-called Prespa agreement in an effort to clear up apparent confusion over to what to call the inhabitants of Macedonia, along with things like their identity, language, cuisine, history, literature, etc. You can read them here and here, but the interesting point, to me at least, is that the government of Zoran Zaev had to issue them and felt compelled to notify members of the world media. Why? One simple reason. There is doubt and confusion. And we can be assured that Greece will feed this doubt and confusion and will fan the flames of questions. Why? Because Greece denies there is a Macedonian identity or language in Macedonia, in Greece, around the world, and wants the rest of the humanity to agree with them. While Macedonia won round one, pre-Prespa, in seeing the rest of the world recognize Macedonian identity and language, expect Greece to go all out in round two in order to win. Do you believe the current Greek government will idly sit aside and allow us to go unchallenged? Perhaps they might, as they are about to enter an election campaign. Do you think the likely winner of that election, New Democracy, will allow this to go unchallenged once they become the government? Here's an interesting real-world case that points to the above. Macedonian journalist Borjan Jovanovski and supporter of the so-called colorful revolutionaries and a Zaev fanboy tweeted out in response to a tweet by the foreign minister whose name escapes me at this moment, pun intended, quote, "Officially, we still Macedonians speaking our native Macedonian language." So, still, Macedonians speaking our native Macedonian language. Still, as used above, is an adverb. Here's the dictionary definition. Quote, used for saying that a situation continues to exist up to and including a particular time, especially when this seems surprising, and, quote, used for emphasizing that a particular situation has not completely ended or changed. Now, we all know that Borjan was a major champion of removing the former government and getting Zoran Zaev installed as prime minister. He has a bias, as all humans do, and he happens to be a journalist who exercises that bias in advancing his worldview. And we know that Borjan knew that Zaev would push for a name change, so presumably Borjan has been fine with the name change for years, if not decades. But here's the thing Borjan did not count on. He thought a name change could be achieved and that he would still be able to retain his identity and language. Sadly, even he realizes how wrong he was. So he is left with holding on tentatively to his identity and language. But he knows that his grip is tenuous and that he could lose them because the current situation continues to exist up to and including the present moment, but not necessarily beyond this moment in the future. And again, we know the Greeks and others will be working to get the world to agree with them in their insistent belief that there is no Macedonian identity or language. I should also point out that the website New Europe published a column by a pro-Greek American, which stated a similar thing, writing, "The government in Skopje is still officially advising foreign media that the adjective Macedonian is preferred." See what I mean? Still. And while the identity and language are still called Macedonian, others are creating new ways around saying the M word. Tom Ellis, the editor of the English language version of Greek daily Katamarini, has come up with a new and novel way of referring to Macedonia as Greece's, quote, small northerly neighbor. And I'm sure that there will be more descriptive ways of referring not only to Macedonia, but the Macedonians and the Macedonian language. Ellis himself makes that suggestion in a different edition of Katamarini, stating, quote, nothing stops ND, Greek Conservative Party New Democracy, from disagreeing with aspects of the agreement. The conservatives can still point out that they believe it's wrong to refer to the citizens of the Balkan country as Macedonians, a valid point, and insist that common sense dictates that they be called North Macedonians. Actually, they can also note that even according to the Prespa Accord itself, the people of the former Yugoslav Republic can be called citizens of North Macedonia. So, while the internationals in the West promised that the whole thing would be over by now, apparently it is merely entering a new phase with new ways of describing the Macedonian people. Gee, who could have predicted this? Finally, a note on the peace dividend that has been promised to Macedonia, Greece, and southeastern Europe. Former Greek Foreign Minister Dora Bokeanis was quoted as stating, quote, "I will of course call it North Macedonia, as I call any other country by its name. I always called our neighboring country the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, which was its official name. Now that the official name is North Macedonia, I will use it. What I will not do is, I will not call its Prime Minister Macedonian. I will call Zaev, or the next Prime Minister, the Prime Minister of North Macedonia. I believe that this is a fundamental error in this treaty." The ever-helpful Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Greece has also weighed in on the subject, telling Greek public institutions that they shall, in no way, refer to the Macedonians as, well, Macedonians. According to their guidelines, quote, "the forms Macedonian government, Macedonian minister, according to the circular, will not be accepted." So it follows that if there can be no Macedonian minister, there can be no Macedonians. Well now, for all the cries of peace in our time in southeastern Europe, and especially between Macedonia and Greece, this does not augur a good start. In fact, I think we all know what will happen, and it will not be the promised peace and reconciliation. One final point. As always, it is going to be up to Macedonians, everywhere they live, and their friends, to continue nurturing the Macedonian spirit to fight this new battle and overcome it. I leave you with two things. Number one, there are more good things in this life than you can possibly imagine, and the right attitude is always gratitude. Thanks so much.